right? And a lot of times I think people have this misconception that, if you practice something in the morning, people say to me, Dandapani, if I practice meditation for 10 minutes every morning, is that going to affect my life? And be like, yes, but what are you doing the remaining 23 hours and 50 minutes? If you're doing things that counteract what you're doing in the morning, then it doesn't help. If you exercise for 10 minutes in the morning and the rest of the day you're eating, fish and chips and drinking beer and pizza, laying on the couch, it's not going to help. So I think when you go with the idea that I'm going to learn something and then take that content and teach it, you never really learn. When I went to the monastery and to learn from my guru, I went purely to be a student. First of all, I went there with the knowledge that I knew nothing. I wanted to learn from him, and then once I learned from him, my goal was to strive to implement everything as best as possible. I have zero intent to teach, right? And I feel when you take that approach, you learn the best. And some of the people that I work with purely have that approach. They have zero intention to teach. They just really want to learn. And so when you go there with that intention, then you learn really well. Because then you're not thinking, because if you go thinking, I want to take this knowledge and teach it, then when you listen to the person speaking to you, the first thing you're going like, that's really good, that's interesting. I think I'm going to share it that way. I should really include that in chapter 5 of my course. Yes. And I think I'll add that little bit to this and then I can teach it that way. So then you're not processing, you're taking it, you're repackaging it, and you're thinking how to sell it or give it out again. Not only about training the body, it's about training the mind too, right? The mind needs to adjust, and the mind is like a muscle. It needs to reshape itself to be able to take on a new way of thinking and a new way of behaving and, progressively hold that new shape. And that only comes through repetition and patience and slow, hard work of doing the same thing over and over again. One of my good friends is an Olympic gold medalist. She won the gold medal in beach volleyball. And she told me, and she had an amazing teacher, a coach, she said, and she said at one time the coach made her work on the volleyball court, do footwork for 6 months with no ball. So they trained for 6 months on the sand with no ball, and it was beach volleyball. And, she did whatever her coach told her to do. She said she grumbled, but she did it. But that's the training that most people just don't want to go through, and I think so many teachers out there are selling quick fixes, and because they have never been trained themselves properly, so they've got a quick fix learning to get from A to B, so then they go and teach a quick way to get from A to B. They don't understand this old traditional path of slowly learning and developing yourself over a period of time is what really creates mastery in a certain level. In the monastery, living a celibate life in a cloistered monastery, away from your family, friends, your relatives, waking up early in the morning, strict discipline and training, eating 3 meals a day, it takes 36 years before you're qualified as a teacher. Your surroundings, you get comfortable, you get used to it. And one of the biggest teachings he taught me is about awareness in the mind. You're not the mind, rather you're pure awareness traveling through different areas of the mind. And your goal is to take your awareness from your conscious mind, move it through the conscious mind, through the subconscious, into the superconscious areas of the mind, which is the most refined areas of your mind to experience deeper inner states and ultimately self-realization, God realization. But awareness travels in the mind, but when you get stuck physically in a certain place and you get used to your surroundings and your comforts, your external environment is a reflection of how your awareness is working in your mind. That means your awareness is stuck in a particular area of the mind because there's really no separation between your inner state and your outer state. And what he was teaching me is that by moving me around, making sure I never got comfortable long enough one place to stay attached, he was teaching me that to not allow my awareness to get stuck in a particular area of mind and in a particular area of the mind and stay in a rut, and that I could actually break my awareness free from a particular area of the mind, really grab hold of it and take it deep within myself and experience deeper states of mind and the superconscious and ultimately self-realization. Humility, obedience, and responsiveness. Right? Humility, obedience, and responsiveness. Humility is the state of knowing that I don't know anything. You adopt the attitude that I am the beginning of the path, I know nothing, I'm super enthusiastic, and I want to learn and grow. Obedience is obedience to your teacher because you trust him or her. and also obedience to your superconscious mind, which is your intuitive mind. The greater knowing of your mind that knows everything, that's the area of your mind, that's superconscious, that knows, that's the all-knowing part of your mind. Be obedient to that superconscious. So when you get an intuitive flash that tells you, do this, which quite often people refer to as a gut feeling, I call it an intuition because the gut kind of is more related to your instinctive mind. So you're intuitive, be obedient to, because the instinctive mind likes the same thing. It's the nature of the animal mind, right? It loves repetition. The intellectual mind likes the new things. That's why the intellectual mind can be fascinated with the internet and gets caught in the internet because it's always serving you something new online, whereas the instinctive mind loves repetition. That's why a cow, for example, is an instinctive animal. It can wake up every day and eat grass. It wakes up and goes like, oh, grass, amazing. It never gets up and goes like, God damn it, I want granola. Give me bacon and eggs today. No, you eat grass every day for 20 years and be totally happy with it. Imagine if we ate the same thing for breakfast every day for 20 years. We'd probably go like, no, like put something different on it, right? But the instinctive mind loves the same thing. And the instinctive mind staying in this hut, in the 10 by 10 foot hut, gets comfortable. It knows its surrounding, and that's what the instinctive mind wants, right? It wants familiarity. It wants everything to repeat itself in the right way. And when it does that, it feels safe and secure. Yeah, for sure. People don't take time out for themselves. And that's something I've been saying lately to a lot of people, is that nobody spends time with themselves. And when I say this to people, they go like, oh, I have alone time. Every evening when I walk my dog for half an hour, that's my alone time. And you're like, no, that's walking a dog. When I'm at the gym working out, that's my alone time. And they're like, no, that's being at the gym. Alone time is you sitting down in a chair at home or on the floor, cross-legged, no music, no journal, no podcast, your eyes closed, and spending time in contemplation and reflection. Not meditation, but in actual reflection and really having a conversation with yourself, the same way we're having a conversation, getting to know each other and each other's opinions and thoughts. You have a conversation with yourself, and people don't do that, right? They don't spend any time doing that, and if you don't spend any time doing that, how would you know what's important in your life, where are you struggling, and what you need to focus on next, and what you need to work on? You're so busy from the moment the alarm rings, they reach over to the side table, grab their phone, turn off the alarm, look at all their notifications, and then start stroking that phone. This is how people get pleasure in the morning, stroking their phone. Do the work now so you can spend the rest of your life living a life that's in alignment with your purpose. Once you figure out what you want now and what your purpose in life is, then you can spend the rest of your life living a life in alignment with that purpose. And talking about deathbed, when my guru was dying, one of the last things he said on his deathbed was, what an amazing life. I would not have traded it for anything in the world. What an amazing life. I would not have traded it for anything in the world. Now, what words to hear from a dying man. To be able to look back on your life and say, that was freaking spectacular. We have one life. You don't get a second shot at this. Get clear what you want,